Okay, you should be good to go.
Very good. Thank you much, sir.
Cool. Thank you much. Have fun.
All right. Be safe. Bye.
Bye.
Hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the test kitchen. Turn on your cameras, say hello. I am desperately trying to get ZoomISO to join this meeting, and it just doesn't want to. I cannot figure it out.
You need to, you realize you have to start record, right?
It's already, no, we're already streaming.
No, I not that. I mean, the only way I've ever gotten to work on a separate computer is to turn on the record button on the second computer, as if you're recording locally.
No, I can't even log into the meeting.
Oh,
That's
well,
what
that's
I'm
a
trying
different
to,
problem. That's a
it's
different
not-
problem.
Yeah, I'm getting all these failed meeting does not exist, but I know that I have the right number in here, 894. Can someone check me on the number? 894. Let me do it again. 894.
894-2530-9471.
That's what I'm typing in, but it's getting lots of errors. I've restarted. This is really weird. Hi, everybody. I'm trying to get ZoomISO into this meeting so we can play with it, but it is not wanting to join. Oh, well. I can keep trying to get in while we talk about other stuff. Hi, everyone. Good morning, afternoon, evening, everything. Good to see all of you here. Who's excited for Zoomtopia?
Yeah.
I am. Topia. We had where was I with I had a meeting, was it last week? Oh, it was here. It was here last week when we had a whole bunch of the team from Zoom here. And I asked them why they insist on using the virtual backgrounds. I'm looking forward to those virtual backgrounds during Zoomtopia. It's going to be good, I think. I'm at least excited. November
Why?
8th to 9th.
Virtual backgrounds, just why?
I know. Just why.
It's
Because they like them.
They do indeed.
but it's such an issue. I mean,
Yeah.
particularly something the size of Zoomtopia. I love our team, but they at least need to make sure they're really well keyed. Really well keyed.
Right.
I'm gonna jump off before I get on the soapbox about that, but y'all know how I feel about it.
No, it's all good. Yeah, it's I mean, the argument they made last week was, which I thought was actually pretty compelling, is that, you know, the ideal, the raison d'etre of Zoom is not high level production.
Right.
They're here for communication, for connection, and so.
But I still submit that they're not doing a great communication if somebody has a seizure because of the listening around the edges.
Correct. Their argument, I don't know why I'm playing devil's advocate for them, but the argument, and I don't also want us to get hung up here, but I think the argument was that we would rather have folks join us with crummy keying than not join us at all because they're uncomfortable about what's behind them, or they can't show what's behind them, or right, that it's an access, a question of making sure that everyone has access, which I think is a fair argument. This is so I cannot tell you how frustrated I am. I actually had it in the meeting and then it froze, talking about ZoomISO v2. Then it froze, and now it just will not join this meeting. It keeps saying the meeting does not exist, but I know it does because I'm in it. So what else should we talk about today? Jeff is on the road. Are there any? I didn't have a chance to pull up. Let me pull up the see if there are any notes for us. Zoom release notes. Have any updates that we've had recently? It looks like there's one coming out tomorrow.
Right.
We had a big failure.
What? Tell us about that.
Gosh, now I can't remember, was it yesterday or the day before? There was a about a half-hour time period where you could not connect up to zoom.us, and meetings were not being initiated. And I don't know what they did to fix it, but about 30 minutes later, the trouble went away.
Wow. That must have been the one half an hour that I was not on trying in a Zoom meeting.
It was early in the morning.
That's wild. That is wild.
And how I actually found out about it was someone from After Hours typed it in on the Zoom channel of Discord. And so I like, oh no, I got to it just fine. And then 15 seconds later, I couldn't get to it.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I learned about it the same way, but I didn't have a problem. And by the way, David, I just to let you know that I've got the same problem you do. I'm trying to come in through ZoomISO and on another computer.
All right. So I'm not crazy.
No, well,
yeah.
different
Okay. No,
conversation.
that's right. Fair enough.
We don't have any evidence.
Yeah. So there's something wrong with ZoomISO right now, apparently.
Right.
Which is a shame because that's really what I wanted to kind of play with. I mean, I can certainly, for those of you who are interested, I can certainly walk you through the interface a little bit if you haven't seen it. But, I just, about that outage, I think that like with many things, people don't, this is something that I hear Alex Lidsey say all the time. People don't realize the lift, how heavy the lift is that these programs and these teams pull off on our behalf for us. And we, when Google or Amazon or Apple or ZoomISO or Zoom go down, it's, I deserve this. Where is it? Why isn't it working? But man, oh man, it's a heavy lift to keep this up and running,
Well, I used to, David, in past life when I was working for a living before I retired, I used to manage large data centers on behalf of the IBM company.
You're a little soft. I don't know if you can maybe turn up a little bit. Yeah, I'll bring in a if it'll let me.
Bring in a meter. Right. I mean, I was using
what
it
I was
this
going to
morning
do.
and I was fine.
If OSC will let me join, then I'll bring in a meter. Maybe is it just me, or was he a little low? Maybe it was just me.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So back when I some of the data centers I used to manage was help manage was the Visa switch data centers. So Visa switch is anytime you do a credit card transaction with a Visa card, it gets processed through the Visa switch.
Yep.
And let's just say that that's a hidden heavy lift that nobody realizes is there. Right. And there are 3 data centers in North America that handle that, all their credit card transaction traffic between the merchants and the banks. So, and
we just pray that they work. And when they don't, we get frustrated and angry. Oh,
yes,
Hasmith
exactly.
Put meters in. All right. I was also going to bring some.
And Peter, not to one up you a little bit, but I was manager of technical services at University Medical Center in Tucson for 7 years. All the computers and all the telecommunications and everything for the Trauma 1 level hospital for Southern Arizona and 20 regional physician clinics. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I've been in that position as well too, and working for the IBM company, managing large contracted data centers like that. But
yeah,
that had to be HIPAA compliant and a few other things. But I did not. As I said, I retired from that job because I got tired of the Saturday morning 2 a.m. phone call when something.
I lived for those things.
I used to when I was in my 40s, but when I hit my 60s, I said I've had enough.
I was fine at that age as well. So yeah.
All right. So why don't I show you ZoomISO and then we can,
Can you get in?
no, but
Okay.
I can show you what it looks like. And that ain't half bad. It's a real bummer that it isn't working. All right, I'm trying one more time. Ready? Nope, didn't work. Okay. All right. So you can, if you don't have this, you can download it from liminalet.net. Is it liminalet.net or
If
.com?
you have a Mac.
If you have a Mac, sorry, .com, not .net. My apologies. liminalet.com. Yes, you do need a Mac. So let me bring you over into the interface here. And I'm going to, oh my God, now I've got nothing coming out. Hold on. Everything has decided it doesn't want to work. Capture desktop. Okay, there we go. And I'll put myself up here. Beautiful. Okay, so this is, see, I had this all set so that I could actually bring in other other guests, but that ain't gonna happen, so that's okay. Okay, so you're looking at two different things here. By the way, can I see, Peter, can I make you or Ray or anyone else co-host?
You can make me a co-host. I'm fine with that. As a matter of fact, I just got in with
yeah,
ZoomISO.
I see that. I see that.
David, you can throw one my way.
Wait a second. Hold on a second. Now I gotta, hold on. All right, so I've logged in now. Is it gonna connect? Come on, baby. Come on, you can do it. Oh my God, now I have to put the info back in again. 894-253-0941. And Z Kitchen. All right, let's see if this puppy's gonna work now. Nope, still not for me. Oh well. So do you wanna, Peter, do you wanna give the kind of like the walkthrough, or do you wanna show people around, or?
I was just trying to get it set up right now because I had nothing prepared for this. But when you said you were having trouble,
all right. So I'll at least show the interface. All right. So here's so the interface for ZoomISO V2 is, you've got this familiar Zoom panel here where you can log in or just join a meeting. I can log. One of the things I've discovered is that the login, it's not persistent. Like I log in now, if I shut this down and then open back up, I have to keep logging in every time.
it's annoying. It's annoying.
It is very annoying, actually. Or you can just join a meeting, which is what I'm trying to do here. But this is not working right now for some reason. So this is the interface right here, and I just actually rejiggered it so that I have the Pro license active. And for those of you who are interested, both licenses are free right now. So this is the interface. There are 6 tabs up at the top. You've got outputs, advanced audio, participant management, OSC settings, log, and you can see all those failures that I'm dealing with, and licensing. So this is where you would put your license in over here. I've actually been testing the light version because that's probably the one that I'm going to be sticking with. But really, at least in in the little that I've been using it for, the only thing that is locked out for me is the advanced audio tab from the light to the Pro. There are other differences, but this page there's just a big lock on it and you can't access anything. So for outputs, they're saying you can do up to 8 on a Mac Mini, up to 12 on a Mac Studio. And the way this works is it's really quite beautifully done, actually. So there are a few different ways that you can navigate this and set this up for yourself. Let me just move this into the center a little more. So I said I'm going to have 2 folks. I want my default resolution, I'll just say 720 for ease. Default frame rate, I leave the same. Video loss mode, you have a bunch of different options: black, freeze, transparent, image, or test card. This is if someone turns their camera off. If someone turns their camera off, they cannot be ISO'd out, sent out as an ISO, obviously. So I actually uploaded an image that will sit in when people aren't.
Can you give me permission to record, David, so I can turn on ZoomISO? Because right, V2 needs to have the record turned on to actually enable it.
Yeah. So I'll make V2.
Yeah.
I'll make V2 co-host, actually.
Yeah.
There you go.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Every once in a while, I'm going to keep clicking this join button to see if it goes in. Wait. Oh, and it's gone. It's like it gives me hope, and then it disappears. See, look at it. It keeps jumping back. Now what? It keeps jumping back to this. It's so weird. There's something going on here. Join meeting. And I did ping Andy to see if he knows anything, but I believe he's actually on vacation. So I felt a little guilty about that. All right, let's see. So you've got you can enable over here, index 1 or 2, output name, mode. You can choose from user, screen share, active speaker, spotlight, or gallery position. And then if you have it on user, you can then choose the name of the user that is that you want to put into that position. This also could all be done via Stream Deck buttons through Companion, which I'll show you in a moment. Output type, this is where it's really important. In V1, every time you did an NDI output, it would pop up a little screen. And essentially, I guess it was just sending that screen over NDI. Now you don't have to deal with any of that. You can just say, I want NDI. And then as soon as you do that, you get this over here, embedded audio. And you can choose, do you want to embed all the audio or just the ISO of that audio? Sorry. You can see right now it says no capture permission because I'm not even in a meeting. At least I don't think I am. No, I'm not in a meeting. And then you can pop out a preview window if you want to, or you can delete. So that is, oh, and one other important piece, by the way, is at the bottom here where it says enable output engine. This, you will see here, the capturing is disabled. If you don't have permissions, you have to make sure that the enabled is clicked in order for this to pop up and for you to have these permissions. So that's the outputs. And then these literally just show up in anything that can receive NDI. It's fantastic. One thing that I have found, and Andy just confirmed it today actually, is that in Ecamm, which is my app of choice, Ecamm does not support NDI audio, embedded audio. And so right now, this whole beautiful system is not really working with Ecamm, which is a shame. Advanced audio, another way to get the audio out if you want to bring it out and then do some mixing. Participant management. So this is one of the other ways that I was mentioning that you can sort of grab people and assign them. I can't really show you here, but maybe Peter will be able to. You'll be able to see all the participants, and then you can filter them by, do they have their microphone on, are their camera on, do they have their microphone on, are they a panelist, do they have their hand up, and then right here you can assign them to the 2 spots, 1 or 2. You've got your OSC settings, your log, and your licensing. Peter, do you want to just bring up your interface maybe so people can see what it looks like when it's live?
When it's live and not working, but yes, I can do that.
Oh, it's not working for you either?
No.
Really? Okay. So there's something's wrong. So it's
not giving me any feeds.
It's not giving feedback. Okay. So there's nothing we can do about that. So instead of that, let me show you how I the new ZoomOSC companion plugin that works with both OSC and ISO is really, really beautiful and powerful. This is the latest from, I would say, a week ago, maybe Friday a week ago. So
actually, real quick, David, before you jump into the bit focus part. Because honestly, this is the feature was kind of drawing me to ZoomISO, to be honest. For ZoomISO to work, do you need 2 Zoom meetings? So like one that the attendees are going to, and then like another one that your presenters, speakers, and all that kind of, that's what they log into?
Great question. So you don't, unless your panelists are not going to be making any noise. That is to say, if your panelists or your talent are in a meeting with your audience and their audio is going into that meeting, and if you join that meeting from ZoomISO and then grab their audio again from that meeting and bring it back around into whatever you're using to push a show out to those folks, then the audio is gonna double. Or if you don't grab the audio through ZoomISO, then you're gonna have some real lag between the two, because the audio, is happening right then and there, but the video is going through you and back into the meeting. So my understanding is that best practice is to keep your, and then Peter, is to keep your talent or your panelists in a separate meeting or possibly in a breakout room.
Yeah.
Now,
And sometimes I find it just for my own sanity to have a regular Zoom session so I can see what everybody else is seeing, as opposed to what I'm controlling it from.
Right. So I actually never, I don't have ISO or OSC installed on my main computer. I always join the meeting just in Zoom so that I can see what's going on. And then I run ISO on a separate machine. I join from that machine and I'm able to control it. So yeah, that's the audio piece of that, Joe. Does that resonate? Does that sound like?
Yeah, no, it definitely answers the gist of my question for the most part. Just because I manipulate certain ways of doing things without using ZoomISO, I actually use a Zoom room. So when you natively use a Zoom room, it comes with ISO feeds. It's sad that the Zoom client doesn't come with ISO feeds, but the Zoom room does. But I have no Stream Deck control. I literally have to use an iPad as my controller. I'm dragging people into the NDI feeds and stuff like that. So that's why I initially kind of scratched the surface with this and just kind of better understanding it. But even in that scenario where people are in 2 separate rooms, so like my attendees are in one and my presenters are in another, my biggest flaw that I have then is like a Q&A. So you get questions that come in the chat in the Zoom side that my attendees in. Well, that none of that gets back to my So
So that's a real problem. And so
I got it, David.
Yeah, please.
No, I just let the guy in.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were going to answer. So yeah, I mean, part of the challenge here is that we want to nurture, we want to put on a good show and have it look produced well. And we want interaction. We want people to be able to chat and talk and answer questions, things like that. And if you've got your panelists or your talent in another room, then you've cut all of that off. Unless you have talent or a panel that is able to join from 2 devices and just disconnect audio. And yeah, I mean, they can keep their video on if they want, that doesn't matter, but just turn off, disconnect the audio from the computer. That way they can chat and do the other stuff. I'm with you.
Yeah.
That's where OSC comes into play. We have to scrape the chat and bring it into another way.
How does that, talk to us about that?
Well, with OSC, you'd scrape the chat from the main room or wherever you have your people watching, and somehow blend it so the talent could also see it, or you're grabbing the chat from another place. And
OSC can receive the commands from multiple computers, and so you have to use something in the middle to talk to OSC to figure out that a question came in from your main session, and then you push it over to something else that I've seen it done and heard a lot of talk about it. But from my perspective, I got to tell you, I'm a solo producer of, you know, low budget meetings for small nonprofits, and you know, Zoom is fine for my clients because I'll do a 3-day event for one of my main clients for $750. So one guy and it works out fine. But if I do have a client now who's sort of asking for something far out in April that's a little bit more high class, and I have to kind of evaluate whether I'm going to do that sort of a thing. But yeah, I would love to be able to do this, and it got.
Oh, you're breaking up a little bit. Oh, I think we lost you. I'm so sorry. Yes, look, this is V2, and it's, you know, week 2 of V2. So you can absolutely screen scrape the chat and send a personalized view back to your panelists. And it sounds like you can, sorry. And it sounds like you can use OSC to route the chat from one meeting to another.
Don't
You
ask
know,
me how.
yeah,
it's like,
I'm,
is it
you know,
Dora
it's
thing, maybe.
my initial reaction when I hear that is, whoa, that's way above my pay grade.
Right.
But then again, that's what I was saying about Companion 3 months ago, and now I'm in love with Companion. So who knows? Who knows?
So I'm not sure what's going on, but I can show you one thing here that does work, sort of. That's ZoomISO version
Oh,
2
I just got in too.
sending its test screens out from
Right.
over to my other computer, but it won't send the video from the people in the session.
All right, so let's see, because I just got in also. Outputs to, oh, wait, I'm getting some folks here. So
Okay.
here's John. All right, so now I'm getting some, let me just, spot, okay. Did that actually work? Yes, it did. All right, good. So let's see here. I'm gonna build a scene. I'm gonna go over here, put that up there. So let's send, let's grab 3 people. So I've got 3 folks. I'm gonna choose user. And then who wants to be, we'll do Joe, and let's see, Peter. I hope that's not your ISO. That'll be kind of weird. Oh no, it's not. And Hasmuk. Okay. So output type. Now I have to choose, I want NDI for this is, you know, how I'm doing it. NDI. I've got the resolution because I set it to 720p up here. I've got 720 here. I'm not going to embed audio just because it won't work for me. And again, you can see that I still, because I never made myself co-host. Hold on a second. Oh my Lord. I have to find here it is. Bear with me for a moment. And now I'll have permissions. And now, so now at the bottom, you can see you can now capture, enabled, and it immediately starts bringing that stuff in. So now, if I come over here, and let's actually go back to this, and let's start building this scene. So I'm going to put a couple more cameras here, and I'll put ZoomISO 1. That person doesn't have their camera on. That's why. Oh, look at that. You're right. It's not bringing any of the video sources over.
Yeah.
Look at that. So you're seeing what you're seeing there. That's the card that I put in over here, the video loss mode. So why am I not getting it? What am I doing wrong? It even says
I even tried the NDI tools, David, to see if it was something, because you use Ecamm, I use Memo Live. I thought, well, let me go to the straight NDI tools, and it's not getting a signal either.
Yeah.
Or it's getting the test signal. It's not getting the.
Could not start raw recording with Zoom error. Yeah, still there.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, in any case, we're a little bit closer to actually being able to see this in action. So let me just share one last thing about.
And this is Ecamm, by the way, that you're building your layout with, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
It is.
Well, and I built mine with
Mimo Live.
Mimo Live.
Yeah.
So the one you're looking at is Mimo Live.
And by the way, to what you said before about Zoom rooms, that because this is Mac only, Zoom rooms is really the alternative for PC. I mean, Zoom rooms is the ZoomISO for PCs at this point, it seems. So in the, I'll just show you that on the new companion build, they have, they did a really nice job with this. You can, a few things. There are two ways to select participants when you're building out this companion. And this is for either ISO or OSC. The first is you can just select participants. So you can see it's interesting. It's actually seeing here all the participants, but it's not able to grab the video. This has nothing to do with their gallery order. The way to do that is select from gallery. This shows you the people in the order in which they're in the gallery. And so that's what you're seeing over here. These yellow buttons are all the gallery that we've currently got going here. Once you populate these with your participants, come back to groups. You've got user presets, global presets, and special presets. Not going to the ISO stuff yet. User presets are if you want to pin someone, if you want to add a spotlight, unspotlight. You can see I've got 4 that I added over here. If I want to spotlight the person, add a spotlight to build out a multi-spotlight, remove spotlight, or clear all spots. Because I'm a presenter, I have a button that is just spot me. And the only difference between these buttons is if you look at this button, I just left the username blank. And what that means is that if it's not going to work, I don't think now, or maybe it will actually. If I choose Peter, you can see that I'm getting the feedback that it's now yellow. And now I can add his spot. Oh, it did work. Did it work?
Well,
it added his spotlight. So now let me try and add my spotlight. Yeah, now we're getting the 2 up. There you go. So if I do spot me, what I did is, because again, I wanted to be able to come back to kind of home base, is I just typed in what I know my username is going to be every time in this spot here. And then you've got a lower hand and a toggle mute and clear selected. So you've got all these different built-ins here. And then let me see how I can go back. Presets, there we go. The global presets, this is for, leaving the meeting, ending the meeting, breakout rooms, setting the gallery. This is actually one of the things that Andy told me early on, and I'm not sure if this is still the case, but is that it's important that your ISO experience always be in gallery view. So if you're using the gallery positions, right? So I use the gallery positions, and because I want ZoomISO to be able to know the gallery positions, if I'm going to spotlight someone, I need to make sure that ZoomISO is automatically jumping back to gallery view. And so the way I did that is, this is not the preset for spotlight is just user actions, basic spotlight. What I've done on all of these buttons is I've added 3 other actions that happen afterward. The first one is lower their hand. So if their hand is up, I want their hand to go down. The second is to clear the selection, so that if I have someone selected over here and I perform an action with them, it will also clear that selection. And then the third thing that it does is set gallery view. So so every time I press any button, it automatically does all 3 of those things. Oh my gosh. Guess who's joining our meeting? I can't do it now, Andy. I can't talk anymore about ZoomISO. I can't do it. Now that
Hey,
you're
David.
here, come on, man. That's
So
not fair.
I'm calling from a hotel in Munich right now because I saw your message that you couldn't log in. So I figured, well, then I read the email that says you were going to do something about it here. So I figured, oh, I couldn't let these guys suffer alone. So I figured I'd come by.
So
but
we did get
figured it
in. It took a while. We did get in. We're not getting any video feeds out. There seems to be something going on here.
Yeah, we're getting, I think we're both getting the same message, aren't we, David? Which says, could not start raw recording.
Yeah, could not start raw recording with Zoom error.
I gotta go let somebody in the front door. I'll be right back.
That I can answer right here. So that is because a cloud recording is already in progress for this meeting.
Oh,
Same rules as local recording. So if somebody's cloud recording, nobody can local record. But if you local record first, then you can cloud record.
How interesting. Okay.
no wonder I fought like, you know what, to make this work last week, the same time for when I sat in for Zoom Test Kitchen.
Yeah. So Jeff's got a thing probably to automatically start a cloud recording or whatever. And this is part of, this expanded documentation stuff that we're working on. We actually released this out of beta, but one of the things we're going to talk about is how this is identical to local recording from the perspective of Zoom. So all the rules that apply to local recording apply to the ability to start the engine.
Wow. Okay. That feels like something I should have known. That's fantastic. We were getting a whole bunch of, none of us could log in there. None of us, there were two of us trying from ZoomISO for a good while. I'm not sure what that was about. It was meeting status failed, meeting does not exist, failed with error 8.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I wonder if it has to do with the meeting being opened, or did you guys do anything about that, or I don't know.
No, I don't. It's entirely possible that because this is the test kitchen, Jeff has turned every knob and every dip switch and every, it's entirely possible that he flipped something that is causing problems. But we're in now, so we just can't do the recording, can't grab the videos.
Got it. But you are able to disable the cloud recording as a co-host, right?
Probably. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to, because he's here and he made me host. He's not here rather, and he made me host. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to do that. Should I do it? Am I going to get in trouble, everyone?
So are you streaming this to YouTube?
Yeah, I think so. I hope.
Then you
so.
already got then you've got an archive of it, right?
All right. Let me make sure that it's actually going out to YouTube.
Yeah, I see.
You see it? Yeah. Does anyone see it? Let's see if we got it up there. Zoomed. Andy, by the way, is on vacation. That's how much he loves us. Yes, it's live. All right, I'm turning it off. I'm quitting the recording. Stop recording. Ha! All right, now.
So now go back to paused on your engine.
Yeah. And restart. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that beautiful video.
And now you're welcome to turn the cloud record back on.
Now I can turn it back on, right?
Well, once everybody who wants to test is.
Oh yeah, Peter, do you want to turn it on?
Oh, he's not in his chair, I don't think.
Oh, okay, he's getting the front door.
But
Andy,
yeah, that's how that works.
Please go back to vacationing.
Okay, with pleasure, guys. David, feel free to ping me in Discord if you guys have any other questions. I don't want you to.
Yeah, I am absolutely not going to do that. I am 100% not going to do that. We love you so much, Andy. Thank you so much.
Yeah, love you guys too. All right, have a good time.
Talk to you later.
I'll talk to you later. All right, take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Wow, that was kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Hey, Hasmek.
So we're clearly going to have to talk to Jeff about if we want to demonstrate ZoomISO on any of the Zoom test session, we can't do cloud recording.
Right.
Well, you can. There's just a timing.
Yes, right. You
First
can't
engine,
have it
first
automatically. Yeah.
Right.
Hasmek, how you doing?
I'm okay. The part where you were showing companion and all those options that you had, that's just related to ZoomOSC, correct? It's got nothing to do with ZoomISO.
No, so I didn't quite get there yet. So this stuff here that I was showing so far, this is ZoomOSC stuff. But remember, they work in conjunction with one another. So at the bottom here, actually, I was just doing this by hand. That was really dumb. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose you. And I've now chosen you. And now I'm going to assign you to video output 1. And you can see you now jumped up to the top there, because in my program, that's where I have that feed coming in. So that's what makes this, I think, really interesting and really powerful, is that now not only can I spotlight and lower hand and toggle mute and all that, but if I'm using ZoomISO, I've got these video outputs here. Let me actually show you those because I didn't get a chance to show you. So the user presets, global presets, special presets. Between you and me, I'm not quite sure what they do, so I'm going to leave those alone. And then the ISO, they added a whole bunch. They added a bunch. So now you've got start ISO engine, stop ISO engine, pause ISO engine, video output 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We go up to 7 now. That's interesting. And then you've got audio outputs up to 7 also. I only put 4 in because, again, my plan is to use the light version for now. So there are some I would say the beginnings of ISO functionality built into this, and presumably if you're choosing the video, so you're choosing to video output 1, and you've embedded the audio in the NDI, this will not only it'll all just work, is for what I can gather. There is one other thing I just want to show you, which I haven't really played with, but they gave me a walkthrough, which is really pretty cool. Let me just make sure that so back here are the groups. So groups are a way to organize your meeting. So let's say, leaving ISO alone for a moment, let's say you're an OSC and you've got panelists, or you've got panelists and moderators and viewers. You can put those people into groups and then do collective actions to those groups. So I could, click these. Oh, I have to do multi-select. I don't have multi-select on my thing now, but you can now single select or multi-select. So I can multi-select users, assign them to a group, and then say, group 1, I want to mute. Or if it's my panelists, I could put my 3 panelists in a group, and I could say group 1 spotlight, or add to spotlight, I should say. And then it will create a 3-up spotlight using that. Peter, were you able to get it working for you?
No, I'm going to have to.
Do you want me to stop the cloud recording again?
Actually, my M1 just hung up cold.
Oh yeah,
right now.
You're right. I'm actually not even recording right now. So
yeah.
All right.
So I'll be back in and out in a second.
Yeah.
That machine.
So David, a question.
Yeah, please.
Have you used ZoomISO version 1 before, or have you jumped straight into version 2?
No, I was using version 1, and it was it worked. It was fine. It was a lot to handle. I mean, because again, every time you were ISOing a video feed, you were getting a pop-up window. And so I'd have 4 pop-up windows plus the ISO stuff, plus everything else that's going on. And the audio, I would just grab, actually, as I'm doing it right now. Right now, I'm just running a hardwire through an audio interface, since for me personally, the NDI audio isn't working. Hey, Josh. Yeah, so I was using it a little, not a tremendous amount.
So I was thinking of jumping into, I bought version 1 license in December. I haven't used it at all. I didn't need it, but now I'm beginning to need it. Well, I think I need it because my application is, I'm starting a podcast show with an individual where he will have guests calling into that meeting. So what I wanted to achieve is to be able to use the ATEM for graphic purposes. So put lower thirds, put in the graphics for either the talent or the guest. And that's where I was thinking of using ZoomISO. Am I thinking correctly?
So smarter people than I can talk about using, yes, Josh, sorry, I will give you co-host. Smarter people than I can talk about graphics in the ATEM. I don't do hardware graphics.
Yeah.
So that I don't know about. But presumably, I mean, the question is, how are you getting those ISO feeds into your ATEM?
Well, that's the next question, isn't it?
Right.
So my question was, you are in the meeting as a Zoom in ZoomOSC client. That's how you've come in? Is
No,
that
so
correct?
I'm in the meeting on 3 different clients right now.
Oh, okay. So you're eCam.
So what you're seeing right now is just me in eCam. And then I'm also in the meters I've got coming in through ZoomOSC on a separate computer. And then I've got ISO coming in on a third computer. And the only reason I joined with OSC was to see if it was working.
Well, what I do have is ATEM, Stream Deck, and I have a couple of Mac Minis. So that's really the thinking, to use ZoomISO.
So Scott is saying using display links. So it does now support, if you look over here, deck link, where is it? It talks about display link somewhere here. I don't remember where.
Hosmuth, there's always the, these always work. These still work.
I've got 2 of those pluggables. Yeah. That's what I was thinking.
So the idea is you plug those in, those become screens, and then you send the ISO feed to that screen, and then you plug that in HDMI into the switcher.
Yeah. Exactly.
Right. Right. There's a bug, Scott is saying, with display link outs on ZoomISO 2. Okay. No, he can't get full screen on the outputs. By the way, this is, before I was mentioning the different ways to sort of navigate ZoomISO V2. So this is the outputs, and you can just say, I want 3 outputs at 720, and then I can come down here and choose them. And the other way to do it is through the participant management tab. So here I can see all the participants on the call, and again, I can filter, and it's going to give me this information here. So who's the host or co-host, who is a panelist, who has their video on, who has their audio on, hand raised, and this is just the global one. I think that's just I don't know what that is. It's not turning anything off. I think that just means everyone, but I could be wrong about that. So if we do host, co-host, it's going to filter those folks, which would make it quite easy, right? Or for me, the video on is helpful, because then you can, especially for testing purposes, you can see who has their video on, and then you can just pop them into those spots.
Can you give me recording privileges again, please, on my ZoomISO one?
Of course. ZoomISO V2.
See if it'll let me in, or if it's going to complain.
Yeah, you should get in now, because I turned recording off.
Okay.
I've not yet tried display link for V2. Is it a bug or for all the models? Scott's saying we're not sure. It is taking every ounce of courage and energy to not buy myself an ISO Extreme, so that I can do all of this hardwired sort of, ISO stuff. I'm sticking with NDI for now, but NDI into a software solution, which, one of the, I've talked with Andy about this. I am the least qualified person to be on office hours and things like that, because I don't do big production. I'm just me sitting in my office, the little rabbi, trying to help other Jews out. Like that, that's what I do. And so I represent, though, I think, for Andy, a large swath of people that I hope should be using these tools.
You and me both, because I just do it for my local Boy Scout council.
Right.
I mean, so it's
Right.
kind of, it's.
And if we can figure it out, hey, Sky, if we can figure it out and help other folks, again, it's all about the rising tide, about lifting all boats, not just go for it, Sky.
Well, I guess where I wanted to jump in was the realization of you are a larger market en masse versus the enterprise market. And again, if you're aiming towards the enterprise,
Right.
they've got Microsoft, they've got that owned and honed, and they're going to defend that castle. But the realization is Zoom is all of the little people, all of the little us's. And so I'm sure there's a lot more houses of worship, office things that want to stay connected. So you are a mass market in almost
Right.
an individual kind of way. So
mean,
you're perfect.
I mean, to be clear, my feeling is that ZoomISO and ZoomOSC are still huge lifts for houses of worship. And I spend hours playing with this stuff because I love it, because I enjoy it, and I barely understand it. I mean, barely.
Well,
So-
as is many tool, or bad grammar, as are many tools when they first start. I would not want to know how to wire a light switch, but at one time somebody had to do that, and it was heavy lifting and it was hard. But I think I'm just continuing to watch the exponential speed of things. I think we're just at the beginning. We're pioneering.
Right.
We're on
Right.
that. I mean,
The idea that you're going to have to have that you're going to have to use both ZoomISO and Companion and a Stream Deck, I think very quickly that's going to become, you buy a Stream Deck with ISO and Companion built in, and you just.
I was introduced to this product at IBC, and it does that, and it's a hardware solution, and it's a and somebody's going to go, we're going to, what's it? When you collaborate, when you bring all the things together, turnkey, somebody's going to turnkey all of these disparate pieces together and sell you a single box. And you're going to go, oh yeah, I want a car. I don't need spark plugs and a carburetor and a tire and a jack. And it's like, I just need transportation, and here's my money.
Right. Right.
So yeah, you Hasmuk, you're kind of right in line with this. You're just
I have to say that I think that if anyone actually listened to me, what I would be pushing for houses of worship and educational programs, the small folks, I wouldn't be pushing ZoomISO. I think for that, once you're using ZoomISO, I think that you want to bring someone in who knows what they're doing, who can do the switching for you, and who can do lower thirds. But ZoomOSC, to manage a Zoom meeting, ZoomOSC has absolutely changed my life. And anyone who's listening out there, again, I was one of those people who for a year and a half said, "Oh, there's no way I could figure this out." I literally said that. I just avoided it like the plague. And I'm so glad that I took a second look.
I'm really curious. What was your A, you had motivation, B, you had fear, intimidation, but C, you've done it.
Yeah.
So I'm most interested in the C. What is that coming alongside? What's the, you can do it? What's the belief in a impossible thing? What was that motivator for you? That's where I live.
Yeah, it it wasn't my own. It was Andy, actually. It was Andy, to me, Andy is, let's just start by saying that I could very, very easily be Andy's father, because my daughter looked him up and they're the same age. So let's just start there. But I look up to Andy as somewhat of, I can't believe he's actually speaking to me. Like I'm, royalty. And somehow he and I got connected and he invited me to do some testing. And in order to do that, I had to set up Companion. And so someone asked me, and that makes all the difference in the world.
And believed in you. And this word experiment continues to pop up, or laboratory.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
for some reason that lowers the barrier of intimidation for me. It's like, oh, I can fail forward in this nutrient rich environment phrase that is amongst our, some of our people group here. So anyway, as you work with a group of people on a Saturday, I work with a group of people on
Something unplugged.
Oh dear.
Something went kaflooey.
So Sky's unplugged.
Something like that. I don't know.
my back.
Yeah, you're back.
Okay. So this has got the little tiny USB connector. And at some point I yanked on that and it's now.
Is that the MV7?
Yeah.
And the MV7 has a micro USB?
As well as the, I don't want to touch it now.
No,
Yes, it has
XLR, I know. But is it USB-C or is it
both.
or is it micro USB?
Micro.
Oh gosh. That's awful. I thought it was USB-C.
Oh
No, goodness.
It's micro, which then consequently its 6-foot cable that it came with.
Yeah.
I haven't replaced it. So I'm very excited about the coming alongside part, because that's where Jeff Widgren that started this experience here. My neighbor across the street that said, hey, I can help you with fruit trees because I grew up in an orchard. My neighbor upstairs that said, hey, I can help you climb that 35-foot ladder to, paint the side of your house because you don't want to fall down like your other friend did. And it's like this, it's in Hasbrook, of course. Hey, he lived with me mispronouncing his name for like 6 months. So that's my giddiness of humans coming alongside, and it's like, huh. So go David.
Sorry. Unfortunately, the one thing that we are always guaranteed is that every time we find a new tool to help us do better work, better productions, better whatever, better Zoom meetings, we're going to have to buy another Stream Deck, because that's what Companion has taught me, is that now I need yet another. I mean, I'm already rocking 4, but you can never have too many buttons. And it's just so powerful. It's just so powerful.
Well, is part of that caused by the fact, because I've kind of come to the same conclusion, David, is I'm not going to disagree with you, but it seems to me what forces the issue for me is you've got the ZoomISO / ZoomOSC preload of buttons and everything you need to do there. You've got the Mix Effect Pro palette there that you almost need a different Stream Deck to keep them two straight. And then if you have anything else you want to do, like control the lights, control a few other odd things, you need yet a third one, because you can't keep switching profiles, and you don't want to go break a profile either by trying to manage it too. I mean, there's like 60 on the Mix Effect Pro, there's 60 pages of profile.
So for me, I don't use Mix Effect Pro, but for me, just for OSC and ISO, if I made a lot of money, what I would do is I would have two Stream Decks side by side. One of them would be my actions and the other one would be my participants. That's how I would structure it.
Yeah.
So all of these buttons would be the participants, and I could just kind of scroll through the pages if I had more. And then all of the actions, spotlight, lower hand, all this other stuff, in addition to these group presets, you know, add to group. So that way on one Stream Deck, I can pick the 5 people, and then the other Stream Deck, I've just got add to group 1. Or so that's, I think, how I would structure it. You can absolutely set it up in such a way that you can navigate through multiple pages or things like that. Can you set up multiple Stream Decks in Companion?
Yes, you can.
Yes, you can.
Yes, you can.
I sure as heck hope so, because
if you actually go to the Surfaces tab,
oh yeah,
you get to add
Right.
surfaces. It will find surfaces. Now, what that says though is you have to go, if you have multiple surfaces, you now have to go update all the buttons to point to the right surface.
Interesting. In the button,
You go,
where do you choose?
let me call up my copy so I can tell you where I'm.
That's interesting. I wonder if because I only have one, it's not even giving me the
Buttons. No, it says, you know, let me see if I can find it. So if I go to, can I share my screen on this session?
you should be able to. Oh,
Just
actually, you know
helps.
what? I don't think it's set up. Let me turn that on. All right, go ahead.
Okay. So share screen.
Josh,
So if you look over here where my mouse is, and it says Surface Controller, you just have to have an internal set surface to whichever controller you want to talk to.
gotcha.
So that happens to be the serial number of one of my controllers.
Gotcha.
So that you just have to add that action in front of, you know, before you
Right.
start off doing anything.
Yep.
Okay.
Question, do you only have to do that though if you want separate buttons for separate Stream Decks? Like for instance, I've used 2 Stream Decks side by side and I've never done this. So this is new to me, but I've just given different pages to like the controls that I want. So therefore, you know, I know pages 1, 2, and 3, I'm going to use with this Stream Deck, and pages 4, 5, and 6, I use with another.
That will also sort it out. But if you were dumb like I am and you start off with, you know, just added a second Stream Deck XL and you had 2 of them side by side with all 99 pages, you had to swap them back and forth.
And you were doing that. You had those 2 Stream Decks. You were doing those in Companion, not with
Correct.
the Stream Deck software. Actually, the way I've structured mine now is because I actually do use the Stream Deck software. So I need it for Ecamm, and so I've got 2 of them rather hooked up to one machine with Ecamm and what have you, and then I've got this guy over here that's just hooked up to the other machine, the ISO machine for Companion, because they don't. That's the one thing, is that they don't play nicely together. I mean, you could drag one button at a time over, but it's not ideal. I feel like this is a Companion test kitchen, so I don't want to get too deep into this. But
So Dave, you have multiple surfaces, because while you could go to deeper menus, it would be a 2 or 3 step, and this allows you to have the button you want visible. Effectively, you've got 64 buttons versus 32 buttons or something like that, or whatever that. I can't remember the big configure.
Yeah, so there's
single click. Okay, single click to do an effect.
Yeah,
got it.
Yeah.
Do you remember the Palm Pilot?
Oh sure.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That I heard anyway, the engineers demand was everything needed to only be 3 clicks away.
Right.
And somebody took that and said, now we take that to the ATM, because again, it's the wetware is the challenge, and you want everything one. And so that's what I'm observing. And that's why when you said, I got to have more buttons, I'm thinking, why? And you just answer that. Cool.
Yeah. The other reason for me, at least, is that I'm like Peter, I'm a one pony show. So I'm either speaking or teaching or facilitating or playing guitar or doing all of those things. And what I don't want to do is to have to scroll through pages. I want to have everything right there for me. So
now in the automation of things, in a scripting of a thing, since you do you do a run of show. Sorry, I know it's a tacky phrase.
Yeah. No,
We understand that.
Yeah. Well, again, I try to be respectful, and even in my house of worship, I don't try to call it that. We have an order of service, whatever. Is there an automation that of like a PowerPoint, you could automate something to hit a space bar and multiple triggers could be?
Yes.
I see heads nodding and
Sure.
and beards wagging. Okay.
So that's you can do that actually. Again, I don't want to get us too far off of Zoom here, but both in Stream Deck, you can do multi-action, and in Companion, you can do multi-action. And I didn't actually know that about Companion at first. I should have, but again, I'm a simple man. But that really is what makes Companion so powerful. And so again, when I choose this spotlight button, I've actually got a bunch of different things happening. It's spotlighting whoever was chosen. It's lowering their hand. It's setting the gallery view. And then there's also you don't see it here, but there's also feedback built into this. So when someone is speaking, they're blue. When I don't even know what all of it means, but there's because I have you selected. That's why if I press clear selected, then you go back to sort of that tannish color. So each of these buttons are already doing a whole bunch of different things.
When we had Blue Melnick on the other day, I asked him what's the difference between what he does and what he is observing office hours does. His response was, they are very much in the engagement of a thing versus the show of a thing. So I'm curious, philosophically, where do you do your Saturdays?
Well, I actually was watching that day, and I thought it was that conversation between Alex and Blue. I actually thought was fascinating because they really do have from my perspective, very different approaches to this. I've been to
again, it's just a different audience for a different purpose, and this is
neither is wrong. They're just I absolutely fall in the blue category. Meaning
blue. Melnick.
Yeah. I always want to up the value
participatory versus
I always want to up the production value. I want people to have the best visual and auditory experience but if I'm not engaging with that, and that's why, by the way, I don't stream any of my classes, any of my services, anything really. I stream, but it's just little YouTube stuff. Anything where other people are involved, I do it on Zoom, period. And I won't do it in webinar either. I only do it in meetings because I want to see people.
Mm-hmm.
And I want them to see that I see them. And I want to hear people, right? So that to me is the power of Zoom, is that we are all so much closer.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I had no idea that Joe had such a beautiful beard. And now I know that. I mean, I mean, that's silly, but it's also not. Like there's really something there, something powerful there. I mean, here's John. I was at his son's wedding, for goodness sakes. How much more personal do you get? I mean, that's
sorry I missed that.
amazing. And the fact that there was a table for the office hours folks, and that we could all, if we wanted to, turn our cameras on and see each other. And it was just
Brilliant.
It really was. That to me is the real power of Zoom.
I really enjoyed the fact that Oliver was in a tux.
Yes, that was nice. That was nice.
That was a nice touch. I put a suit on, but Oliver was in a tux.
Yeah.
But it was fascinating, that discussion between Blue and Alex on a Sunday. And if we could have longer ones with that, because I've participated in a number of Blues events, and the focus is on the interaction of small groups of people that are stimulated by the show, the program. And on the wedding, and I'm glad that some people were able to participate in it, but that was really, give it Greg Gibson, but he, said, if you're going to do this, typically what happens is they do the ceremony and then everybody waits for 45 minutes before they could then see the people in the reception. So they did a delay. The wedding took place, and then they edited and started the Zoom play later. And then that was set up so that they immediately went from the end of the wedding to the reception. And off at the corner at the reception, they had a big monitor, which I got onto. And I think the grouping was that the office hours could have their own table, because they knew connections that, other friends and other people or relatives who couldn't make it probably wouldn't have been as interested in. So it was the segmenting of the breakout rooms that really made it so powerful.
I agree 100%. Laura, did you want to say something?
Unfortunately, I need to run, but when you were starting this
No, I was
discussion,
waving at Bobby in the background.
Oh, love you, John. Thank you so much for popping in.
Bobby here and is not waving. That was her getting ready to yank me.
Mazal tov
leave
to
the
both
camera
of
on.
you.
I want to see that. Oh, too late. So to not to Alex's defense, but to Alex's point, the recognition of a show versus an interactive experience. And while that used to be a matter of course, you would have to go to the theater to create that. You'd have to go to the venue, to the sanctuary, to the synagogue, to the whatever. But now we're creating that pseudo experience.
I think
there's early days. Tony was very, I want to do what's, the right thing. It's like, well, what is it that you want to do? And that's when the word conversation came up. Okay, well, then let's create the environment that's going to benefit everybody.
Right.
So,
and one of the reasons why
yes,
Zoom events, with no disrespect, doesn't interest me all that much, is that it is very stage oriented.
Yes.
And in some ways, I don't know. To me, it feels a little distanced, and another piece of the conversation, by the way, with to Alex, I think, is he has very intentionally. Now this is becoming office hours test kitchen. I apologize. I'm doing a terrible job today. This is a question about Zoom. He has quite intentionally made it really difficult to get in. And I absolutely appreciate why he's done that. That is antithetical to the way that I think.
there we go. So there's the yes and of it.
Right.
So
I have a persistent Zoom meeting that is my cell phone number that I use for everything, because I don't want to forget it. I want to be able to tell everyone it. And I have set up the security in such a way that, I have a waiting room. And so if I don't know who you are, you're not getting in. Could someone abuse that? Absolutely. But because for me, Zoom is all about connection. communication, all the things that they're talking about, I want that bar to be as low as possible. That's just my use case.
No, and you know, David,
Yes, so I'm gonna-
I agree in many ways what you're saying, because my use case is, you know, I know it wouldn't work on an office styles standpoint. I mean, tomorrow I'm going to have 250 Cub Scout age kids on Zoom, along with about 10, 12 adults. And if you think they would put up with, they want to be entertained, and learn, but they do not really care about the technology. Right.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And if you think hurting that many kids is easy, think again.
Sure. Sure. What else? Oh, you know what we never, I mentioned before now that we got ZoomISO working, we kind of jumped away from that. And yes, we do need a companion test kitchen. I agree with you.
We've had a couple of them over the year.
Yeah. But we didn't, there does seem to be some big releases coming out, not necessarily from Zoom, so tomorrow there are two big pieces. One is for Workspace Reservation. So this is going back to maybe Joe for the Zoom rooms. Let's see here if I can get this bigger. There we go. There's a whole bunch of workspace stuff. I guess that's what this is for. Unless, I assume that's what this is for. And then Zoom Contact Center also. I just started using Zoom Chat for the first time with Andy and a couple other folks. He asked me if I had never used it. Do any of you ever use Zoom Chat outside of a meeting? There's a whole Zoom Chat. Did you know?
I typed something into it once to see what it did.
It's there. There's a whole thing. Yeah. So in any case, again, I don't think this is control file sharing and chat engagements. Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff here. Let's see what's coming on. There's another release tomorrow. I'm sorry, on the 18th. Let's see what that one's about. Admin activity logs. Okay, so this is new stuff, releases for the web. We don't like the web, so let's skip that. We want, oh, do they not have any, I guess it's not an update to clients. Broadcast voice to all breakout rooms, sign language interpretation. Did we see this before?
So
No.
a lot of things, by the way, when they reference the web, it's more or less the administrative side of it. So you're using the client to run your meeting and whatnot, but you're actually going to the Zoom portal. If you have a license for like a paid version of Zoom, then at that point you see where this stuff comes into play. So a little background for me, just so everybody kind of knows, I work for a corporate company. We're a software development company, and I am the overall designer and administrator of our Zoom office, or our office space. So it's like we've got multiple conference rooms using Zoom Room. I do our town halls and broadcasts and all that kind of stuff. Last week was our first hybrid one since post-pandemic. Otherwise, like y'all, I've been in my basement running all the Zoom rooms and the Zoom webinars from events. So I manipulate with a big amount of hardware versus software mixes of stuff. Huge fan of Companion. It's being a one-man show in my basement changes everything. One small plug to Companion, by the way, you don't need a Stream Deck to mess with it. It's totally free. You can download and install it, and they have a web interface. So mess with it. You can't break anything. If your piece of hardware has an IP address, most likely there's a piece that works with Companion. So from like a one button push, I mess with my audio settings within. So for an audio interface, I use a Behringer XR18. So you can actually control a lot of stuff within that. So I don't know, I can go on for hours on Companion and just how much it saved my ass, pardon my French, a lot.
Well, I would agree with you, because I know one place where David and I differ, he uses Ecamm and I use Memo Live for my stuff. But Memo Live, for instance, has an HTTP interface that companion knows how to drive, right? Just
Yeah, and once you pair, and when I say pairing, it's not even pairing for the most part. You label in a bunch of IP addresses, and then like the magic just starts working. So yeah, audio interfaces. I do video routing, so a lot of the hardware that I use at work is Blackmagic hardware. So their video hubs to their HyperDecks, everything has an IP address. So I don't know. It's
Can I
pretty
ask a question?
Yeah.
Why do you think Zoom hasn't built more functionality like spotlighting or into why have they not created hotkeys for those things? Right, why do we have to go through Companion, you think? Why
I think they've got a handful of hotkeys. So I actually have a couple people that I stress a lot of feature changes within Zoom just because we use it so much. We're not a large company per se, but you know, we own 1,000 licenses. So I think we're somewhere in the food chain when it comes to like making some decisions. But so like the people I've talked to and stuff like that, I specifically ask these things. And you got to remember, in this room and this audience that we have on here, we are manipulating Zoom to do what we want it to do. When in fact, 95% of the people that use Zoom are just communicating with their fellow coworker or, you know, in the house of worships and stuff like that. So like for the most part, like I said, we're manipulating it to do what we want to do. So
right,
that's where your ZoomISO comes in and your ZoomOSC. Like I messed with ZoomOSC in the very beginning stages, and I was shoveling just a bunch of things around. I was like, I can't do this right now. And I just literally, I shelved it. I never went back to it. I started looking again on ZoomISO just because it can mess with NDI feeds the way I want it to. Because Zoom Room works, it really does for using NDI feeds, but it's not amazing. Like you need a dedicated iPad for it or some form of a controller for your Zoom Room. So for us, we use iPads. You can use a tablet, anything really. So in those scenarios, it's very touchscreen. I'm a tactical, call me old school. If I can't feel the physical button, I don't know if I like it. That's why I kind of love the Stream Deck, because I could, without looking at it, I can just touch it. So I don't know. It's kind of crazy. And it's
That's
just
fantastic.
Use and habits, I guess, when you really look at it.
I've never truly understood Zoom Rooms.
Zoom Rooms are pretty wicked of their own. So in my world, when you're dealing with a corporate office, like my role kind of came out of nothing. So my background in my career is I was a software developer for 15 plus years. I have a bachelor's in computer science and I loved it. And I can always go back to it and then some. And then the company I've been working for just as long basically came back with, we had a new office space and it was like a TV's on the wall and you know, you want to display your laptop on the screen because you're having a local meeting. And this is even before video chatting ever happened. It was just, I just want to screen share my laptop up there so the people in the room can see it. And it never worked. So it was just hurdles. So you fix that. I bring in a piece of hardware. So if it plugged in, I was a fan. That's just kind of how I was growing up. So if it was a piece of hardware that somebody else is willing to buy for me to play with, thumbs up, I'm in. And that's how it started. So we did that, changed a lot of things. And then Zoom started hitting the platforms. Yeah, there's Teams out there, and we are actually a Microsoft backend company. Like we use Office 365, and along with it comes Teams, and we don't use it because it sucks. That's just my unprofessional opinion on it. It's just
Why does it suck? Or why does it not provide the tools that you need? What's the barrier to entry? I'm curious because I'm in Seattle.
Performance. It's literally performance. When it comes to ease of use. So Microsoft's flaw, like I said, I have a background in computer science. So I've messed with Windows interfaces a lot, APIs and all that stuff. So Windows likes to play the game of mass producing a lot, but never owning the hardware, never owning, like they came out with their Microsoft Surface. And as strong as it was, they didn't put, still, once again, they didn't put all their eggs in a basket. They just want to kind of mass produce and like push out, right? So when it came to Teams, it was an afterthought. And I think they then put more information because it was like, oh yeah, we're going to put a team to it and make this chat service and call it a day. But they've got also their head or their hand in a bunch of other baskets, trying to make a bunch of other things work. So they never focused, in my opinion, on what they should have been doing. So performance-wise was never great. Interface was never great. I've actually messed with they call it a Surface Pro, Microsoft. It's not Surface Pro. It's whatever their touchscreen device that you can roll into like a companion device to their Teams rooms. Like literally we toyed with one of those and I quickly put it back in a box and said, thanks, but no thanks. Cause I've got my CIO and director of IT looking at me going, Joe, why are we spending X amount of dollars on Zoom rooms when we technically sort of have these licenses for team rooms? And it really comes down to just a performance thing. I designed our rooms so they're hardware agnostic. So could I switch to a Teams room like that? I can easily do it. You pull it out. Because in truth, my microphones, my cameras, they're all, for the most part, USB based. The larger ones have a DSP that comes along with it. DSP is basically, for anybody that doesn't know, digital signal provider, I think it stands for. It's a glorified mixer. It's a set it and forget it kind of mixer. And that's what it is. So it's like you walk into a conference room, a large conference room, and you plug the HDMI cable into the port. Well, what happens? Well, that's communicating to a DSP that's changing the signal to the TV, that's turning the microphone on or whatever it's doing, like that kind of stuff. So we use the DSPs to just control like ceiling microphones, ceiling speakers, that kind of jazz. But for the smaller conference rooms, literally it's a Dell PC behind the scenes with a Logitech Brio and a 40-inch monitor, and that's it. And that's more than plenty. Oh, and an iPad to control it all. So you throw a Zoom Room license to it, and it's just that simple. It's that easy. The controllers for team rooms were never great. So I guess somebody asked the original question of like, I never got a Zoom room. Like, what's the purpose of them? So Zoom room is the ability to just walk into a room, a space kind of thing, and not need a computer. You can just literally go to your touch face interface and say, join room, type in the 9-digit key or whatever, type in your passcode, and you're good to go. And that's it. That's all they care about. It's also smart enough too that if I walk into that room with my laptop and I want to join a room or join a meeting from a room, literally my laptop through proximity can see the controller and joins me into the room. It automatically mutes my microphone and speaker. So like it connects without computer audio. So you don't get the audio loop. And it's just all that stuff just works in a Zoom room. It's just been fun that way. Was it Skype? I think Skype does it. I don't know if Teams does it, but they allow NDI feeds out.
They both do. They both do.
So I was pretty excited about that. So I jumped on that real quick, just even to say, I'm going to have my participants come in as a team and I can take their feeds and send it out to my A10 broadcaster for that matter. So, and it wasn't great. Performance was always lagging on it. It would hang. I would lose audio. It would just become unsynced. And I'm like, it's all come from the same source. How are we unsyncing the audio and the video? So it was just those kind of things that made it difficult to work. And Zoom Room actually works pretty well. So that kind of does what I need it to do when it comes to manipulating NDI inputs and outputs. So I don't know. Sorry, went on a rant. Didn't mean to.
No, that's fantastic. Thank you so much. I'm so glad that you're here and that you're bringing that experience of the Zoom rooms. Peter, I don't see your ISO machine in this.
I just realized I was playing with something and it logged me out. So
okay.
I'll log back in again here momentarily.
All right, great. So in any case, so going, let's just see what else is coming up this weekend. So we got the broadcast voice, the sign language, force polls to be anonymous. This I haven't seen before. Account owners and admins can force polls to be anonymous to help meet customer privacy requirements.
Interesting.
For the record,
that is interesting.
Executives hate anonymous in a corporate world. Like when it comes to Q&A, that's like the first thing that I always get the answer. Are the anonymous questions turned off? I need to see names. Otherwise, it's always great.
Well, it actually depends on the nature, because I've sat done corporate board meetings where they have to keep the polls anonymous.
Yeah. Lock cloud recording and polling subsettings. I'm a little hot. I didn't realize I was that hot in this meeting. I apologize for that. Can lock the following subsettings at the account level. Okay. Admin control of sharing in meeting chat to chat channel. Meeting host to share chat messages sent during a meeting to Zoom team chat. Oh, that's interesting. So it looks like you can route messages within a meeting to go to Zoom chat. Ah. That's interesting. Okay. Restriction kind of channel members, export list of channels and channel members, disable emojis. Yep, I see you. Disable emojis. Hold on a second. I just gotta let him be a co-host. You know what? Hey, here's something you all can help me with. When I add someone to be a co-host, it always gives me there's always a pop-up that I have to click a second time. That is so annoying. If I say make this person co-host, just make them co-host. Don't ask me a second time.
I guess what they're saying is, are you really sure?
No, I know what they're saying. I'm sure.
I think I'm with you on the beef of that, because I've already clicked twice to get to that point of saying make him a co-host. So then a third time just is redundant. So I'm with you.
Right, because you first click on
The radio.
on the more, and then
yeah.
Yep, exactly. You're right.
Design is always in modification, in change, because I remember early days, the remove and allow were next to each other. And there was a couple times I kicked somebody out.
You click the wrong button.
No,
sure.
I did. Is fat thumbs. Something slipped on the. Yeah.
Yep.
So.
Whiteboard's getting some updates. By the way, Whiteboard is this is the new thing. I don't know if any of you know, Canva just had a big event this past week, and they announced whiteboards as a huge piece of what they're doing. I mean, they'd had them already in beta, but okay. So there's the comment panel. So what's interesting about the comment panel is that we had never gotten it to work, at least not in here. The comment panel literally, let me see if I can open a whiteboard here so we can try this. Whiteboards. New whiteboard.
I think to your point, David, just saw the demise of the shopping mall, and I'm realizing different platforms are trying to become the new location.
Absolutely. Yeah.
For them, they don't have to create the content. They don't have to create the distribution. They just have to provide the loading dock and the parking space.
Absolutely.
And then they'll, rent out to you.
And to Canva's credit, I think that they have enabled millions of people probably to be more creative than they were before. It is absolutely not, high level graphic design, but it's really pretty darn powerful. The video, the background removal for video, which we talked about this past week. I asked about it. I'm not impressed with it yet, and that's not Canva's fault. That's
What'd you say?
physics
Okay.
fault. But the background removal for images is actually pretty fantastic. It's really pretty wonderful.
So I got it working on Memo Live now.
I can see that. Yes.
So those are 4 images coming from my M1 over to my Mac Pro running Memo Live.
Great. All right. So we got template stuff here. Not a whole. Oh, there's events has some updates too. The workflow dashboard. Consolidate all event creation flows. I've actually not created anything in events, so I don't know what that experience is like. Auto transfer unlink events. Autocomplete email addresses. That's nice. I like that. Survey visibility. Enhancements to displayed event interpreters. There are several enhancements to displaying interpreters on a session tile. A session's interpreters are listed along with the language they are responsible for in the session lobby. In addition, the session tiles now include the full names of the available languages that are interpreted during the session. Great. New speaker landing page. Applies to as profile details or speaker bio.
I'm assuming the landing page is like a backstage, or like
Is that for webinars or for?
It doesn't say.
I think it might be still under the Zoom events section.
Yeah, this is all Zoom events. But Zoom events can be meetings or webinars. It could be
Or
either.
it could be both. So yeah.
So
So-
that's interesting. I wonder, where does this,
So I started scratching the surface of events, and the only thing I can think this is because when you create an event, there's not like there's this single meeting or webinar that people join. It's like you kind of join the lobby part, which is that. And then if you click on, like, it gives you an agenda, and you click on the one, like agenda 1 item, whatever, you click on that, it actually jumps into that meeting, and it has its own ID and its own whatever. So the only thing I can think this is that your speakers should go to a common area.
Right.
And that's all I can think this is.
Well, I actually don't think it's a common area. I think it's a page specific, or a lobby, as it were, a green room for them. And then from there, they can make edits to their bio, or they can join wherever they're supposed to join.
I did in our last town hall. I should say my last all remotes town hall. I did a webinar, but I enabled the backstage. So the backstage feature comes along when you have a Zoom events license. It was cool. I didn't tell my presenter or my speakers just because they like to drag their feet when anything new happens and they just want to push it. So I just enabled it and we Yahtzee rolled it because we meet 30 minutes before anyways. It was cool, but it was a little weird and confusing, but in the end, their interface for it was pretty clear. So if anybody ever gets a chance to mess with the backstage feature, it could kind of help and save you at the same time.
My understanding is that backstage, though, is just for webinar.
Well, it's only for webinar, but you only get it when you have a Zoom events license.
Correct. So what we want to, or what I want to do really is have a backstage for a meeting.
Yeah,
right? So
they don't have that.
Right.
The only way I've manipulated that was I created a breakout room.
It's a breakout, exactly.
But there's no way of controlling people from not joining the breakout room that shouldn't be in the breakout room, if that makes sense.
Well, how does office hours do it? Do you know, Sky? Because office hours, oh no, we're in a separate meeting, right?
Yeah.
We're in a separate meeting. Okay.
Yeah, we're in a, and then, but again, the concept of theater, stage, backstage, all of those metaphors, I love that those have been adapted rather than trying to come up with something new, because there's already enough new. And this is what we were experimenting with a year ago with Hour of Happy, and we were struggling with just the nomenclature. And it's like, stop reinventing the wheel. It's round. Let's love into the round.
Yeah.
So it's fun. And then Zoom was doing all of that at the same time.
They got some nice stuff here about networking. And it's reminding me of, what was that? We had them on once on the test kitchen. I can't remember the name of, and I don't think he has it on this account. The app. Oh, you know what? I know where to find it. It's called, hold on a second. There's an app that really does a good job around networking. Twine. Twine is a Zoom app, and sorry, I didn't mean to bring that over there. And it does a really good job about connecting people and allowing people to self-identify. So I'm a developer, or I'm a salesperson, I'm a whatever, and then to connect with other people who either share that same identity, as it were, or intentionally with people who don't. Maybe you want to cross mingle. So now they've got recommended connections during events. The matching feature provides an easy way for attendees to build their professional and social network by easily browsing through other attendee profiles. Again, this is all in events. The conference lobby speaker tab will be updated to People tab. In the People tab, that makes sense. Attendees can view all participants in the directory while they participate in a Zoom event. Speaker tab, that's interesting. I wonder if that was just people who were speaking. I'm not sure what that was about. And creation of user profiles. That's nice. It's really nice. Group chat for booths in Expo. Wow, they're really doing, this is a huge update. Private group chats, private lobby chats.
Well, it looks like they're competing with like your platforms like Visibo and what's some of the other ones that I've used in the past. So,
and tablet support for Zoom Events chat. A lot of these things, as soon as you move to a mobile device, the experience just goes way down. You can initiate one-to-one video calls from chat. Huh. I really should again, I've stayed away from events because I want to be able to see everyone, and you can't, that doesn't happen by default over there. Ticketing features, holy moly. And then little on Zoom, cute little on Zoom. I remember signing up for on Zoom when it first came out. I haven't done a darn thing over there.
That was our attempt at trying to charge with Mad in the Kitchen, and we used it twice, and it was, again, early days, and a lot of, again, what you're saying about all these different disparate clickety buttons that you're trying to figure out. There was just a lot of them, and we were all learning and understaffed. So I think it's been hybridized, and events is now the happy space.
It's version 2.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. It's V2 of, yeah.
And I think it was also that they were attempting to be a platform, and this was their one place is, oh, you want a theater that you can charge tickets to come into? But it was early days, and iterations maybe didn't happen.
Yeah. Anyone have questions or thoughts or deep insights, or we banged on ISO a little bit. By the way, for those of you who may not be a part of the office hours community, if you are interested in ZoomISO, become a part of the office hours community, because they are going to be banging on that like crazy, and really learning all about it. And they want as many of us to learn about it as possible. So definitely come over there. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, again, speaking of early days, I revisited StreamYard just now because you brought up Canva, and because I was there at the early days of Photoshop that, grew into Aldus, that grew into Adobe, et cetera, the PageMaker that turned, Quark Express, how complicated it used to be coming even from line to type before that. Sorry. But the simplification that is StreamYard to do very basic, but not bad looking things, but it's not as effective as what the Zoom can do for you. So Joe, I'd be very curious, have you had any experience with StreamYard, and would that fit into the corporate environment at all? Or is it the hobbyist tool?
I haven't used StreamYard. I think I scratched the surface with it like once just to kind of figure out what it was and see if it would work for what I wanted to do. And I think in the end, I think in the corporate world, I've learned over the years, and not from my like producing or technical directing side of things, but from like the end user and the attendee, it's the keep it simple, stupid route. Because if it's too much for them to understand, and if it's not clear for them to understand, they fly right past it. Or you're now getting, the Slack messages coming in or the whatever coming in saying, I can't join, I can't hear, I can't this, I can't whatever. So like, even like right now, I kind of want to do a part where it's like, even for like my post-production events, like, so we use, it's by Salesforce. It's called, what's it called? Simpler, I think it is. It's a Salesforce tool. So basically it's an internal wiki page kind of thing, if you want to look at it that. So like from a corporate perspective, it's an intranet. You can go to it, you can search on things, whether it's HR shit, policy stuff, all that other kind of jazz. So
clean show.
Oh,
intro.
my bad. Sorry.
It's okay.
Sorry. It's force of habits. I have children. No. But yeah, no, it's basically, it's an internal, like, I don't know, intranet for the most part, but like you can actually embed from it. So I've actually wanted to get to a point where I take, whether it's my webinar, directly send it to something like Vimeo, or even like if it's a hybrid production, my remote people come in from Zoom, my live event is doing what it needs to do, like physically in the space. And then like the end result, I'm piping it out into like directly to Vimeo. And then Vimeo ends up, you can play it live from there. You can wrap it back into this, we call it I Am Home, but that's just like an internal corporate thing that we call it. But like we pipe it back into the Salesforce thing. So it's embedded, it's behind a firewall and all that kind of jazz. So you could attend the webinar through this. You can attend it through Zoom technically. But like all those levels of complications, certain things break. And I go back to keep it simple. And I keep it simple because my end user wants to ask a question, or my attendee wants to ask a question. So like, I need to keep it simple for them. Like, and I also have to keep it simple for my speakers too, my presenters that are in it. So like, I actually have a Slido license that I've used for different scenarios, and I've tried pushing him for our town halls, because it's like, now that we've gone hybrid, you have a room full of 50 people and you have questions and like, oh, we're going to float around the microphone physically for somebody to talk on it. And everybody clams up. Nobody wants that. But if you have a Slido QR code sitting at the corner right here, that somebody can just sit there and scan with their phone and either anonymously type something in or put their name in and say, I own the question. And it comes back to my speakers that way, or my presenters that way, whether they're remote or on the stage or however, like that became too complicated for my presenters then. They didn't like that.
Do you offer a QR code in the room?
So I've used
I mean, in the real physical room.
Yeah, I did. It was awesome. It worked great. And I wish we would do more with Slido for those purposes. Because Slido is kind of cool because you can do your polls that way. You can do your you can even do a survey, post-event surveys out of it. You can do live Q&A out of it. And it's all from the person's phone. And everybody's got their phone in their pocket. You know they do. If you think they don't, they're lying to you. So it's like, my solution is like when you're in a room of 100 people, you're going to get the person that's not going to wave their hand for the microphone. They're just not going to do it. But their question is just as valid as the next person. So doing that, yeah, it's a different workflow then. So like somebody that is on, so I always say, if you've got questions and answer, if it's a Q&A type event and you're a presenter that I'm hosting your event for, you need to bring a friend with you, meaning a colleague with you that's going to help you administrate your Q&A. So they log in as a panelist in Zoom, they see the Q&A just like, and like they help you administrate the questions back to the person speaking. And it could be something like, and it's God spelled G-A-W-D. So they have a God mic that basically they have their own little Zoom session open in front of them. And they pull up the God mic and say, hey, John, I've got a question from the crowd or from the remote session, such and such. And then the person on stage answers it for the most part. Like that's the easiest way to do it. Or if they don't want to talk on a microphone themselves, they have a secondary laptop that I'll provide for them that can literally type out whatever they want. And it shows up on a confidence monitor that's at the floor of the stage. So it's like, I have to plan for 25 different situations and they maybe use 2 of them, but they came back with 3 other requests that weren't even thought about. So like, that's my world.
When you mentioned StreamYard earlier, the first thing I thought of was EasyCast, and which was announced at Zoom at what do you call it?
IBC.
That if they are able to create a UX that is really user friendly and really accessible, I think that the StreamYards of the world will really struggle. I mean, you take the power of Zoom, the power of Isadora it's all, to me, it's all going to be about the UX. You know, how do I, as a normal human being, interact with that? If that's user friendly, holy moly.
Well, and that's where listening to Joe and then thinking, Dave, of your consistent audience, we have trained these people to do something. And now that we're bringing them back into a brick and mortar, we're saying, no, that was bad. The way you do that in the last 2 years that we've trained you how to do is bad. Don't do, it's like, that's dumb management. Yeah. You should, we're moving forward. And we now have these new, I'm going to keep calling it a language.
Yeah.
Because globally we have forced everybody to understand what breakout room is.
Right.
what mute is. The entire planet now, so
Well, and that's why I messed with the Zoom room scenario with using NDIs in my environment, because you already know Zoom. Like you said, we've forced you to learn it. It's an interface that you mess with every day. You're comfortable now. And as a presenter, because I always try, presenters, they're nervous. They are, whether they're in front of their, I'm sitting in my dining room for the most part, and my kids are getting off of school. So it's like, if I was doing a presentation, obviously I wouldn't be here, but I've got that in the background. I'm just nervous about what I'm talking about. I've got questions that are popping up. So I just don't know how to handle myself. And I understand that as a producer side, because I don't know. So Zoom is simple. Have any of you guys ever messed with EV I have. It's pretty cool.
Actually, I just heard about it. A couple of the Ecamm folks use it. It's really interesting.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. They've got a pseudo seamless way of calling people or getting people to call in. It's spelled EVMUX. I've actually piloted the beta stuff with them at one point, gave them tons of feedback. In addition to that, I also worked with them when it came around to, we did an event that we brought in an external event coordinator. If anything, that's my flaw. Like I don't like dealing with the chaos that comes with a large event that's public facing. Like I don't want to deal with registrations. I don't want to deal with that stuff. It's just not my wheelhouse. So we always bring in somebody extra for that. And they brought on EVMUX with them. So their interface for using, because they have a concept of the backstage and who's on stage, and you get a conversation with people behind, and you can promote somebody to stage. So as a director or a producer kind of thing, it's pretty fun. You can do overlays, built-in lower thirds. The flaw that I have with them, that I can't use a lot of them, is that the output is made to go to a stream. So whether it's YouTube or Vimeo or whatever, it's intention. And for me, being a brick and mortar type hybrid environment, I would love to bring in my callers that way. And then I can take that video streams and come out differently, but I introduce delays that I don't like. So if it's 100% remote, EVMUX is, I'd recommend messing with it one day. It's kind of cool. It's definitely hands over foot, or however that saying goes, in comparison to StreamYard, in the sense of ease.
No, I just sat down.
I'm not, I'm just gonna mute John. Sorry, John, we just muted you. Yeah, here's EVMUX. Their website's taking forever to load. I don't know what's going on. Maybe it's my internet.
Yeah, it came up pretty quick for me.
Oh, okay, so that's me then. I know that the whole world is going to production in the cloud. I worry about, I don't know, I maybe I just like having a little more control.
I definitely like control. We burnt their system out. I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna tell you the truth on that one. We had 25 callers come in because they're like, oh, we can handle whatever you throw at us. I'm like, okay, cool. So I brought in 25 people in their green room, and it didn't work very well.
Really?
So yeah, there's limitations with anything that you do. I think they've definitely up their backend servers and stuff to support larger outfits. It's
the EVMUX people did.
Yeah, the EVMUX. So I actually worked directly with them. Alad is one of the guys, and Iran is another guy. They're from,
I'm gonna guess Israel.
They're from Israel. They are, it's their native home, but they live in Florida. So they've obviously,
they live in Florida.
They live in Florida. And I always jokingly said, because when I was working with them, it was like at the heart of, so I'm in Chicago, and we were at a constant like 98 and humid, and these guys are like, that's nothing. I love it. I'll take it all day, because from Israel, we're 115 normal. So but yeah, they're a great group of guys to work with. I'm actually trying to pull up my studio right now, just to kind of maybe even look at it a little bit.
Multiple session events.
Oh, you got to do it.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I got Chrome on this computer.
One of the things about all of these different services is that, particularly when you're dealing with connecting multiple people, whether it's presenters or just participants, yeah, I must be running just way too much stuff on my computers right now. It's taken forever. Is I think that the reason I'm so excited about ZoomISO is Zoom is a tested platform. We know that it has the whatever it needs to make those connections, and just the sheer size of it. And so that's, you know, if you're looking for reliability, if you're looking for all that good stuff, you just can't go wrong with
I mean,
Zoom.
it certainly has the back end chops for it, right?
Except for yesterday, there was the big Zoom.
Yeah, we talked about that. Yeah,
Yeah, we talked about that.
yeah. I was.
But it
I,
happens to the best of them.
it does absolutely. I was saying that was the one half an hour that I was not on Zoom yesterday. I think because I completely missed it.
So I just confirmed, though I won't mess you guys up doing it, but I confirmed that Mimo Live does see the ISO audio.
Oh, it does. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a problem. That's they know about it. It was. We know that it's not working in Ecamm, and they're working on a fix for it. So
I assume that's an Ecamm side problem, not a Zoom
it is.
ISO problem.
No, that's
Yeah.
it. That's an Ecamm problem. Yep, and they know about that.
And Dave, again, that interview that we did at IBC, sorry, was I really recognize again Andy's background. Original problem that he was solving was theater in New York, and he understood that the audience is why we're here. Now, how do we get the tools out of the way or into the hands of the engineers or technicians to let the art happen? And I think the art of conversation, to your point, is why he's a unicorn of a human anyway.
Yes.
But that philosophically moving forward, he understands that it's got to be simple. And he's also got, is it Jim, his partner that does the engineering while he does the philosophical.
Oh, it
Business
Andy
partner.
and it's not
John?
John. No, it's not John. Hold on.
Real quick, what are we looking at?
That is Mimo Live doing a 4-up from ZoomISO.
No, but this is like somebody's screen sharing right now. No,
That's me. That's my
Okay.
screen share.
Oh, so
That's
that it is
my
yours.
Mimo Live session feeding back. You're now seeing my screen share of my Mimo Live session.
nice.
Jonathan Kokotajlo.
Jonathan,
Yeah.
there it is.
Yeah. Sorry.
Glad you
Yeah.
could pronounce it.
All right, friends. I think if you're okay with it, I think we're gonna wrap this up. This is great. It was so nice having you here, Joe. Really, please come back and
Yeah, absolutely.
continue to be active. This is just fantastic.
I've been in some in the past. Life always takes over. It always does. So Fridays are always crazy for me. So like when I can, I'll usually be a fly in the background, but I figured if I can help throw some content in.
Definitely. It was really, really nice having you here. And
I just want to say, apologize for my unmuting. I'm on my phone and it's in my pocket and unmute. So
it's
you would
quite
think,
all
you
right.
think I would know how to use Zoom. You know, if anybody would ever teach me how to use this tool.
It is quite all right. We're sending lots of love to your whole family over there and hoping that
All
they're,
good, but this is a particularly enjoyable kitchen, Dave. I hope you do more of them.
Thank you. I appreciate that. This was fun. It again, I apologize that it became Zoom Test Kitchen, Companion Test Kitchen, Office Hours Test Kitchen, but I learned a lot. So what the heck?
Well, you almost
All right,
can't
friends.
touch them. They work together. So
They do.
Have a good
They
one,
do.
folks.
Have a lovely, lovely weekend, everyone. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.